Good morning. Oh, good. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. So, did everyone have a good time last night? You can tell from my voice that I did. So, yes, excellent. So, I want to welcome you this morning. Thank you for coming. Thank you for getting up. Thank you for joining us online. Hi, folks. I'm sure you all know the drill at this point, but would be very grateful if you would add the session to your schedule in the app so that you can do the feedback and give Christine lots of wonderful, constructive, helpful, supportive, not that she needs any criticism. So I'm really looking forward to this morning's session, in particular because later on in the keynotes, we've got a panel that Christine is going to be on, which I'm moderating. So, and we're going to be touching on some of the things that she's going to talk about this morning. So I want to know what she's going to talk about so that then I can ask her really difficult questions later. So that's my job, is to take notes. You all get to just listen and enjoy. We might have time for a couple questions at the end. If so, I'll take those. Otherwise, please put those in the app, and we'll try and pick them up and get them through to Christine later on. I am now going to leave you in the wonderful hands of Christine. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. What a great introduction. Yeah, I'm actually really excited. I was going to name drop some of the participants later today. So my name's Christine Owen. I'm a field CTO at One Cosmos, and I'm going to talk about the power of combining identity wallets and passkeys. I realized when I was going through this morning that I need to define what a wallet is in my mind so we are all on the same page. I should have made a slide, and I'm very sorry. So when I'm talking about wallets today, I'm basically talking about those wallets or verifiable credentials. I'm actually going to use those interchangeably that are built on standards. So ISO standards like MDLs, W3C standards. And the reason is this is a standards organization. So of course I want to talk about those wallets, those verifiable credentials that are built on standards, because that becomes an interoperable, synergetic, really amazing thing that we're going to create. So we're going to talk about the evolution of digital identity for like a hot second. And then there is this I keep hearing the scuttlebutt, like very small whispers about how wallets and passkeys are competing technologies. I don't think they are, and we're going to talk about why they're actually foundational for each other. They are synergetic, but there are challenges to adoption in the future, and we're going to talk through that. And then we're going to conclude with as many tomatoes as you want to throw. Hopefully not rotten, but if they are, that's okay. All right, so the evolution of digital authentication. So of course, first we had passwords, and those were amazing because they were so easy at the time because we got to use the same password for anything and everything, and really we only needed one password to get into our Commodore 64. Then we moved on to 2FA and MFA, and those became very friction-full and boring and not fun. But also phishable. So we had to move from there to passkeys. Passkeys, of course, are a significant shift because they're passwordless in most cases. And they're so easy for an end user and so intuitive. At the same time, in the beginning, nobody knew that you were a dog on the internet. And now we're starting to realize that we actually need to know if your name is Coco and you have gorgeous hair, or if your name is Christine Owen and you just like to stir up trouble at conferences. So we need verifiable credentials to be able to do that because we want to do the work once, because we're kind of lazy. We want to verify attributes once and then be able to reuse them over and over again. And that's really the key to verifiable credentials. The reality is having verifiable credentials and passkey combined, it really creates a strong portable identity solution. One of the reasons is we have to protect those verifiable credentials, and what's the best way to protect them to be able to log in? Well, we're going to use passkeys. Obviously, we should not be defaulting on a password or an OTP. So this is a foundation of a better user experience. And I need to give you two disclaimers. One is I am thinking in the future, not necessarily today, although I will give you some use cases for today. But I'm also very US-centric because my work is in the US, and I apologize to those who are in the EU because I know that the rules are a little different. So some of the things that I'm saying might not be really transitionable to other parts of the world. So I apologize in advance. So on the left-hand side, right now we've got verified digital credentials. How do we get those? Well, we establish trust and we establish integrity by, usually we use a driver's license or a passport. We take that, we use a selfie to kind of do the matching, and we resolve it. We take the information and we pull it out, and we go and we check that information against credit bureaus or issuing sources. So I like to call that a triangulation of trust. So we like to go and see where there's, just because we use one form doesn't mean that there aren't other sources that might be able to give us a better veracity of the attribute. Sometimes also we're going to ask for attributes to verify that aren't kind of the normal thing, like what is my bar number, and am I active in that bar association? I am. I don't remember what my number is, but my verifiable credential can tell you. So so basically we have this representation of claims digitally, stored in a portable wallet that is secured by a public-private key pairing. It will be user-owned and managed because in, for example, W3 standards, privacy is very important, and user control of those attributes is very, very important. And privacy can be obtained, and the reason why we have a couple asterisks there is because while the vendors who use standards, W3C standards, ISO standards to build their wallets are not selling the information, they're not just handing the information over, relying parties will be requesting that information, and at times maybe they're going to be requesting more attributes than they're needed because they want to see how much they can get out of that end user. So sometimes there is that privacy concern of what is it that relying party is actually going to ask for. And then we've got passkeys, which are amazing. I hope we all love passkeys here. I know I do. We use a private public key pairing, which is really great security, and it's a built-in MFA. It's AAL2. It doesn't matter what form factor the passkey is. It's still AAL2. It's amazing. How did we create such a wonderful standard? I don't know. I'm not that smart. But we do significantly reduce phishing with passkeys, which is really important. We have faster logins and we have better experience, and that's really been proven by the numbers that we've seen in the keynotes, right? We go from 24 seconds for passwords down to 8 for passkeys, and up to 60 plus seconds when we add an OTP. So we have a really, really good login experience, stronger security, and privacy is at the forefront, which I think is really important. And then also the user gets to control. So are these competing technologies? A lot of, again, some people have been thinking, well, why don't we take this, this verifiable credential and just reuse it over and over again as an authenticator to get into different relying parties? I say no, let's not do that. Let's do identity enrollment, let's do proofing, and let's enroll once with that verifiable credential. And then we can take and basically bind a passkey for user authentication. And that creates that whole system that we need. Now, sometimes, and we're going to talk about that in a couple slides, sometimes we might need to add additional attributes to the user's profile after enrollment. Sometimes we want to use additional attributes to be able to have a higher assurance level alongside that passkey, and that's okay. But the point is we've got verified identity that we're going to reuse, which are really our verified credentials on one side, and we've got passkeys on the other, and the passkeys are going to be our day-to-day usage in the relying parties that we're entering into. All right, so again, they are synergistic, and this is what I think is super important. One is, when built properly, both of them tend to be interoperable. And interoperability is important for adoption. We have enhanced security for both of them because both are built on public-private key pairing. And that's really important. Now, I know some of you in the audience are probably crypto nerds. I'm looking at one right now. And yes, we are going to have to deal, or actually I'm looking at two, we're going to have to deal with what it's going to look like in the future when we hit that post-quantum. But the good news is a lot of really smart people, some of them are in this room, are thinking about that, and we are going to be able to overcome that. User experience is key. On the passkey side, user experience needs to be near frictionless, right? We need to be able to use our face, use our fingerprint, log in pretty seamlessly, do it quickly, and it's something that we all are looking for. On the verified credential side, there is friction. And I'm gonna be honest, there is some friction. There's friction on enrollment because I don't have the Jeremy Grant t-shirt that it's not always easy to get to IL to a NIST 863 standard. But there is friction in obtaining those verified attributes. There's also going to be friction when a relying party requests the verified attributes. And that's important because the end user needs to read the screen and really think about it. Does Rothy's need my social security number? Probably not, but they do need my address because I want my Rothy's shipped to me, and they definitely need my email address so that they can send me all the latest Rothy's that I keep buying. And they probably need my name because they're gonna have to associate that with the account. But there are also other core attributes in NIST guidelines that they don't need, such as a government issued number, right? A unique ID. And then the last thing is standards-based. So passkeys are built on standards. The wallet/verified credentials that I'm talking about today are built on standards. And that's really important. I should have made this into a circle because it goes back to the first thing, interoperability. When we have things built in standards, then we can make them interoperable. And that makes everyone's lives easier. So how does this all work? And this is a dumbed down picture, mostly for me, because I need really pretty pictures to be able to understand what is going on in my life. So on the left-hand side, we have Know Your Customer /proofing, where we're getting those verified attributes, and we're putting them into the issuer who's going to hold them on our behalf. They're going to hold them with very strong cryptographic encryption. And I am the ID holder. I don't have hair as luscious as this woman on here. It makes me sad. I think this is like Aaron Crow's hair. It's gorgeous. But I am the ID holder. I can also be called the authorized party. So there's two different words for me. But holder or authorized party. And then also on the other side is the relying party. So it's the shopping experience that I want, or it's a government agency that I'm trying to get benefits from. And so I go to the relying party and I say, hey, can I get X? The relying party goes back to the issuer and says, does this person have the attributes for X? And then they go back to me and say, can you please authorize us to release these attributes over to that relying party? Now, we're going to have challenges with this. And this is really more for the wallet scenario and less so for the passkey scenario, right? Because the challenges that we have in passkeys, there's still some challenges, but we've done a really good job of overcoming a lot of them. The first challenge that I foresee in verifiable credentials is federation. And this is where I was actually going to plug the keynote because I have a feeling that Heather Flanagan is going to talk a lot about this. And also she's really, really smart, and I'm sure she has some very strong opinions on it and how we can overcome it. And thank God we have people like her working on things like this because it's a really hard thing to deal with. There's different types of federation. We can do two-party federation where the issuer is directly integrated with the relying party. But if the issuer has to go around to all relying parties and directly integrate with them over and over and over again, it gets pretty cumbersome. And then we have, you can call it third-party, multi-party, or three-party or multi-party federation. I like to call it a broker. It's actually something that the US government created years ago and then abandoned because, quite frankly, the market wasn't there yet. And now it's starting to come back. And so there's this program called HHS, which is Health and Human Services, XMS, it's a credential exchange service that the government is building for those government, I would say government blessed, but that's not the right word, those wallets that interact with the government already, and it allows for user choice. So right now there's 2 wallets in the federal space, and some are in one of the wallets, and some people are in the other wallet. I would say there's probably about 150 million Americans that generally have either one or both of those wallets, or actually it would be less if it's both, but there's about 150 million identities between the 2 wallets. And in some cases, there's overlap, and in some cases, they're only in one, and in some cases, they're only in the other. So how do we make it so that those people can choose which wallet that they want to actually keep their verified attributes in, and then interact with all government services that they need to interact with? That's where HHS XMS has come into play. It's starting to gain a little bit of traction. If you are in if you're in the federal space, feel free to come and talk to me. I can give you contacts of where this is happening. I think it's a wonderful idea, and I'm really hoping that we can gain steam on it, because we definitely need to get some sort of, we need to overcome that federation challenge, right? The second one is education. So that's what this is today. That's what the keynote is later today as well. There likely will be a white paper about the coexistence of passkeys and verifiable credentials / wallets coming out soon. I think it's really important as we see the population is starting to not necessarily adopt, but understand that there is a thing called a mobile driver's license, that they need to understand how they can use that. Right now, you know, they know that they can use it at TSA. But not only that, but they need to know, how does that really relate to that bigger picture? Like, how am I going to be using this? And we're going to talk about use cases in the next slide, and then unfortunately I'm not going to have any time to have questions. But the last thing is adoption. I think education begets adoption, and when it comes to, what passkeys and how quickly passkeys have gotten adopted, not only through issuance but also through usage, I think we can use the work that FIDO has done and that Megan has done, amazing work, and reuse that in the verifiable credential space. So hopefully we're going to start seeing in the next 1 to 2 years more education campaigns to be able to beget more adoption. And there's a reason for this, and it's because of all of the use cases that I see today. So online verification is one of the most obvious ones for MDL. I want to buy that delicious tequila that Christian Brand had on stage the other day, and I want to do it online. I need to verify my identity. That's the way I would do it, through an MDL, pretty simple. The second one is government interaction, and I think that one is where most US citizens see this with the IRS, where you need to verify your identity to what's called an IL2. So generally it's a passport or a passport and a driver's license and a selfie. And if those things don't work, there's other fallback methods to get you to that IL2 verification, so then you can file your taxes. There's a real reason for this, and it's because there was rampant fraud against IRS in the early 2020s. The next for the government is other government benefits. So once you get that verified credential or that wallet from a government institution, you then can go and use that in other government institutions. So if, for example, you are in a disaster area and you need to prove your identity to FEMA so that you can get the benefits that you need, having an already issued verifiable credential is going to help smooth that over quickly, because a lot of times those people, they run out of their houses and they've got nothing. They don't have ID, they don't have anything to prove who they are, they have no money. And having the ability to get to a verifiable credential to prove yourself to the government would be extremely helpful, right? The next one is healthcare. So there's actually two really good use cases that I'm starting to see pop up. One is ECPS. ECPS is a program run by DEA that have regulations that say that any prescribing doctor for a certain class of narcotics needs to have an IL-2, AL-2 verification under NIST 863 guidelines. You're going to hear me say that. It's the document that is like over my head at all times. It's why I love to give NIST a hard time, because they are my overlords. They tell me what I need to do. But ECPS has that requirement. And so what we're seeing in the marketplace is that they're going to companies that have wallets that basically verify identities and then reuse those identities so that that prescribing doctor can use it at hospital A, hospital B, hospital C, hospital D. So that goes through the interoperability piece, and it also goes through the do the work once and reuse it multiple times. It's really, really important because the friction in getting to IL-2 is so high that being able to reuse that credential is really important. The second space that I'm starting to see it, a little bit, but not a lot, is when patients are requesting their healthcare records to be moved from one hospital to another. In some cases, the hospitals are trying to figure out a way to be able to seamlessly move that information but verify that that person is who they say they are. So allowing a schema for the hospital to request from the verifiable credential key items like name, date of birth, some sort of unique identifier would really help. And this can actually be done in a privacy-preserving way where it can be a Boolean yes-no response, right? So attributes don't need to be passed over, especially if that hospital doesn't actually have those attributes. So the hospital should be saying, these are the attributes I'm seeing. Are these accurate? Then the next one is in education. This one is actually getting to be really interesting to me because it's not one that I expected to pop up. But what we're seeing, and I only have 2 minutes left. All right, so what we're seeing in this is that people are socially engineering help desks to do account takeovers, right? And we're seeing that everywhere. But specifically in higher ed for two reasons. One is because alumni, very famous alumni, go to certain colleges and they want to get their information. And the second reason is because bad actors are trying to get into the research that research universities have. And so we're seeing the requirement of getting to an IL-1 or an IL-2 before the account reset occurs. And what I suspect is that these universities are going to start realizing that actually having a reusable identity, because you already did the information once, you did it once, but being able to reuse it throughout those 4 years, and then after, as those students become alumni, is going to be really helpful for them. And then the students, because young people tend to be early adopters of futuristic technology like verifiable credentials, and then they're going to get out into the workplaces and they're going to go and try to open up a credit card in a financial service. And they're going to say, why am I giving you my driver's license and a selfie for Know Your Customer when I have a verifiable credential and I can just send that over the wire and you can have all of the information already verified? I think that that's going to help adoption. I see this coming as that's going to be the thing, the linchpin of getting that adoption, and I think when that occurs, it's going to be very explosive. The last piece on financial services is when people do high-risk transactions, like send a lot of money over the wire at once, there needs to be some sort of verification of that person. So using a passkey plus some sort of trust signals to be able to give to the financial services so that that person can quickly move that money if they need to for whatever reason it is, but also so that the bank can understand that that person is actually who they say they are, will be very beneficial in transactions in the future. And I'm at time, so thank you so much, everybody. We're going to talk about this some more at the keynote, and I'm really excited. So thank you, Andy, for letting me do it.
the time management skill is astonishing because I'm stood at the back going, she's got 10 seconds, she's got 8 seconds, she's got, oh, look, she finished. Wow.
It's not my first rodeo, Andy.
Right. So huge amount of interesting opportunity, I think, with this stuff. I'm very grateful to Christine for talking us through that. I'm very grateful to my panel members for sitting in so that we all know how to give you a hard time later. Thank you for joining us. We'll take a short break. We'll be back in about 5 minutes for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you.